Hey, what is going on guys, my name is Prota, and to start off this epic summer madness, I've put together a £500 PC for anyone looking to get into medium tier gaming and even YouTube content creation like making videos. So at this point the PC community is growing significantly and a lot of people are considering going with either current gen or PC gaming. Just know that if a £500 budget is a bit too pricey, I'll make another build soon at a more competitive price to rival the Xbox One and PS4. So whilst this build isn't about getting a bazillion frames per second at 4K, you are getting great value for money. The CPU and GPU are also better than the one in my build. Besides that, this build will play all games comfortably at 1080p with very good settings and frame rates. Even newer games and demanding ones like Witcher 3, GTA 5, Crisis and Battlefield 4 will all perform so good for this price bracket. Okay, so kicking off with the CPU, I've chosen to go with the Intel Core i5 4690K quad-core processor. The CPU runs in at £156 and is pretty much a sweet spot in terms of price and performance when it goes for an Intel processor. It runs at 3.5 GHz with 4 cores and has a turbo boost clock speed of 3.9 GHz. Now the CPU doesn't have hyperthreading, which most games don't use anyway, but applications like Adobe utilise. Intel have hyperthreading enabled on most of their i7s, but it basically creates virtual cores to form a total of double the existing amount of cores. Sound confusing? Don't worry about it. Since the processor has a K on the end of it, it is overclockable though, and the option to do that is available in the future if you decide to do so. But since it's somewhat of a budget build, I won't really make it any more expensive and the stock cooler should be just fine. Now for the motherboard, I went the MSI Z97 PCMate ATX LGA 1150. Other than featuring a significantly catchy name, it's got a regular ATX motherboard that accepts this chipset. What that means is if you ever want to upgrade your CPU to something like an i7 later on, you don't have to swap the motherboard. Other than this, it's a regular size ATX board, so it's really easy for first timers and also supports RAID configurations and crossfire. Whilst that might not mean much at the moment for a lot of you, if you ever want to put two graphics cards in your build years down the line when you're not happy with this one, you can just put another one in. It also supports a maximum of 32GB of RAM at pretty much all speeds. For £65 you can't really find a better deal. Since this is a Z97 board, it will also easily allow you to overclock. Now this board isn't as flashy as something like an MSI Gaming Edition or the ROG boards, but for this price I wanted to get something at a competitive price, loaded with features and upgradability for a decent value, so you can't really go wrong. Now in terms of memory, I went for the Kingston Fury Black Series 8GB DDR3 1866 memory. This memory does come in the form of two 4GB sticks, which is what we want for dual channel memory. Also, in a gaming build, 8GB is enough for running games and doing video editing. I also just want to quickly go over memory speed. Memory speed doesn't make that much of a difference until you compare 1600 MHz to 1866. 1866 is definitely better, but overall it doesn't really matter a ton, which is why I didn't fork out for 2400 MHz. Also for £46, this is a really solid deal. The motherboard does have 4 RAM slots, so the option to upgrade is available in the future if you decide to do so. Now for storage, I went with the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB 3.5-inch 7200 RPM internal hard drive. Now this hard drive is pretty cheap at £42 and comes with a terabyte of storage. Now for most people this will be enough for games, programs and general files. Because I went with this, I didn't go with an SSD, because for this point, at £40 you could probably only get a 120GB SSD. Besides this, you won't notice any frames per second increase, and you still have the option to add an SSD to your build later on if you decide to do so. For the graphics card, I decided to go with an XFX Radeon R9 280 3GB Black Edition Double Dissipation video card. Now this card is priced at £168 and can pretty much play all games at 1080p no problem. For how cheap this card is, it's definitely one of the best mid-range cards on the market. For a gaming build, a GPU is one of the most important parts, and by going with this card, you're getting exceptional value for money with great performance. Not only does XFX have a really solid cooler, but it also has 3GB of video frame buffer, which at this price point is pretty good because games like Shadow of Mordor, Witcher 3 and GTA 5 certainly utilise this. As for stats for nerds, the original 280X runs at 1000 MHz clock speed, however the XFX Black Edition has been factory overclocked to 1.08 MHz. Not that it makes too much of a difference, but it's still a nice add-on. Not only that, but in comparison to the R9 280, not the 280X, this one has a higher memory clock speed and a better floating point performance. For £168, this is definitely an ideal graphics card for your build. In terms of the case, I've gone with the Cooler Master K280 ATX mid-tower case. This case will set you back £21 and for the price is pretty damn good. There's enough space in the mid-tower case and also has cable management slots at the back to make them look clean. Besides this, the case doesn't look half bad. The case's features are pretty decent too for the price, but it is made by Cooler Master who have a strong brand and a good reputation. It also features a dust filter, 7 hard drive bays, it supports USB 3.0, yada yada yada. Basically in a budget build like this case is excellent, and if you want to improve it in any way, probably looking to get in more fans, but I do believe they come with one pre-installed in the front. Don't quote me on that though. And you know what, for £21 you can't really go wrong. Lastly, we've got the power supply. I've chosen to go with the EVGA 500 watt 80 plus certified ATX power supply. Now some people might think that £34 is too little to spend on a power supply, but it is made by one of the leading PSU manufacturers. Also, for those who might be a bit concerned that it's not 80 plus bronze, bronze is only a classification of how energy efficient it is. Because it's from EVGA and it's 80 plus, it should be just fine. Saying that, I wouldn't downgrade it anymore. Now the PSU is really important, as if it fails it may take something else with it. However, just because it's less energy efficient doesn't mean it's less reliable. This PSU is extremely reliable, as shown in the reviews, and for this configuration it's all we need. Now because it says 500 watt and our system uses about 437, it gives us a little bit of headroom and will be enough. However, if you wanted to run something like Crossfire later on, you might need to upgrade the PSU anyway, but for £34 it was cheap and it'll get the job done. So that's it guys, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed or even learned something new. If you liked this video and found it helpful, give it a like, and if you disliked it, give it a dislike. I'm thinking of creating a console budget one soon, so stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for watching, have a great day. This has been Proto, and I'm out. Peace.